After months behind bars and a courtroom saga that nearly took him down, Young Thug is finally back and breaking his silence. The YSL RICO case had everyone thinking it was over for the Atlanta rap legend. The charges, the evidence, the prosecution's intense pursuit, everything was stacked against him. But against all odds, he's walking free, and he's got something to say. Young Thug promises to change. After spending 2.5 years behind bars in a tough legal fight, Young Thug, real name Jeffrey Williams, has finally walked free. Thug, the Grammy-winning rapper and founder of Young Slime Life, YSL, reached a plea deal in his high-profile RICO case, wrapping up what's been a whirlwind in and out of the courtroom. Now, as he's home and reflecting on what's next, Thug's made it clear he's looking for real change, not just for himself, but for the people around him. Young Thug's release didn't come easy. After a lengthy legal battle, he ultimately pleaded no contest to charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and leading a criminal street gang. Along with that, he faced drug and gun charges. In a twist, the plea didn't come as part of any negotiated deal with the state, which meant that Thug's sentence was left up to the judge. He was facing up to 120 years, but Judge Paige Reese Whitaker granted him time served, putting him on probation for 15 years with a conditional 20-year sentence that'll only kick in if he violates. In his emotional statement to the judge, Young Thug took full responsibility.
I take full responsibility for, my crimes or my charges. I want to say sorry to my family, my mom. My mom got 11 kids. I can't say all their names, my managers, my kids that's not here. Really everybody that got something to do with this situation.
Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele, revealed that his client accepted the plea despite his advice, saying the unbearable conditions in Cobb County Jail wore him down, and he couldn't bear the thought of waiting any longer. With his newfound freedom, Thug vowed to make good on a promise to stay out of trouble.
Just trust in me to just do the right thing and never see you again unless it's at a bar in the future or something. Just out of this type of situation, I promise you I won't ever be in this type of situation again.
At 33, Young Thug has learned some hard lessons about fame, trust, and the lifestyle he once led. The Atlanta native spoke openly in court about what he's realized since his arrest. "I know what I bring to the table. I know what I am. I know the heights I've reached. I know the impact I got on people in the community," he told the judge, recognizing the responsibility that comes with his influence. Thug admitted that his past choices weren't always wise, admitting, "I find myself in a lot of stuff because I was just nice or cool. But now," he says, "things are different. I'm a smart guy, I am a good guy, and I really got a good heart, he added, speaking with the determination to stay on the right track. Thug's reflecting on what he's been through, saying he wants to put his family and kids first, step up as a role model, and focus on his music without the lifestyle risks that dragged him into this mess in the first place. Young Thug's out of jail, but he's not out of the woods entirely. His 15-year probation comes with tight restrictions. He's banned from associating with known gang members or anyone connected to the case, although he's allowed to stay in touch with his brother and close friend, fellow rapper Gunna, for work reasons. Thug is also prohibited from using gang-related signs, gestures, or language, a condition aimed at distancing him from any suggestion of gang promotion. A particularly harsh part of his sentence is a ban on living in Atlanta, the city that made him who he is. His father, Jeffrey Williams Sr., took issue with the restriction. "I'm totally against that because this is where he's from," he said. "To see them take a man away from where he's from, to have to go live somewhere else, that's offensive to me." Despite these terms, Thug's committed to making it work and staying out of trouble, realizing that the stakes have never been higher. In his final statement to the court, Thug highlighted his family as one of the driving forces behind his decision to accept the plea and move forward. He told his lawyer he couldn't bear to wait any longer, explaining that his children had already gone through enough and that he needed to be there for them. Thug's father expressed similar thoughts, saying he just wanted to fight to prove his son's innocence, but he respected Thug's choice to get back to his life and family. His father supported him wholeheartedly, saying, "I feel great that he's going home, but at the same token, I still wanted to fight." Now, both men are ready to get back to normal life and let Thug reclaim his place in the rap world. With a sense of purpose and a commitment to staying clean, Thug's looking to dive back into his music and focus on being the best version of himself. Young Thug knows that what he says and does next will make waves, especially for his fans who've been with him through thick and thin. He expressed gratitude to the judge for giving him another shot, calling her the best thing that ever happened to him after she took over the trial from a previous judge. Thug acknowledged his influence, saying, "I know the impact I got on people in in the community. It's clear Thug understands he's got a huge following that looks up to him, and he's taking that seriously. Meanwhile, Young Thug's girlfriend, Mariah the Scientist, was overjoyed at the news. She shared her excitement, telling the world just how grateful she is. "This is more than what we prayed for. We are so grateful. This is the greatest opportunity we've ever been presented with," Mariah said. Mariah, who's been holding down their relationship while Thug was locked up, was thankful for the fresh start, calling it life-changing for both of them. The couple recently celebrated their 3rd anniversary, and Mariah's relief was clear. "I cannot say it enough. I cannot repay you for this. You have changed our lives, Jeffrey's life and mine." With Young Thug finally home, she's ready for them to move forward without looking back. YSL Woody, a longtime associate of Young Thug, had a different kind of reaction. Woody stirred up controversy throughout the trial with his testimony. He admitted to falsely accusing Thug of crimes back in 2015 to save his own skin, which had some people calling him out. Woody apologized recently, admitting the pain and suffering he caused Thug and his family. "I'll never forgive myself," he said. "I took him through a process that I never should have." When Woody heard the news of Thug's release, he posted a simple "Thank you God" on Instagram. For Woody, it was a moment of relief, but also a reminder of the mistakes he made along the way. Meanwhile, Young Thug's close colleague Nicki Minaj, who's always been a supporter of Young Thug, posted on Instagram stories to share her excitement too. "Welcome home at Thugger Thugger 1, she wrote. "Don't leave again. The PPL needs you. The game missed you. So happy for you, your children, family, and fans." Nicki's song "Anybody" with Thug came up during the trial, so seeing her welcome him home was a big moment for their fans. Kanye West, currently focused on his Drone project, also showed love for Thug's release. He reposted the news to his Instagram stories, sharing in the joy with his fellow artists and fans. Kid Cudi echoed the sentiment, thanking God after hearing the news, while Thug's supporters from all corners of hip-hop were just happy to see him out. Nonetheless, Young Thug's freedom came with a price, and fans have been having a field day with the terms of his probation. The court laid down some heavy restrictions, including a ban on gang-related music and a requirement that he holds 4 anti-gang and anti-gun concerts in Atlanta each year. Even stranger, Thug is banned from living in Atlanta for the first 10 years of his probation, except for big family events like weddings or funerals. When DJ Academics posted the conditions online, the comments blew up. Some fans joked that with all these rules, Thug might as well become a pastor. Others laughed about the idea of Thug going anti-gang, considering he built his entire brand on street culture. But the part about banning him from Atlanta hit fans especially hard, given that it's his hometown and the place that shaped his career. One fan pointed out that while Thug's barred from living in the city, he's still required to perform there 4 times a year. A lot of people felt the restrictions were contradictory, wondering how he's supposed to live his life under such a tight microscope. Others even said the rule forcing him to create anti-gang music messes with his freedom of expression, making it hard to imagine how his sound might evolve. However, despite all the jokes, the celebrations, and the mixed reaction, one thing is clear. Young Thug was lucky to receive the sentence he did, considering the charges he was up against. What to know about the YSL RICO case? The YSL RICO case against Young Thug, one of Atlanta's biggest rap icons, has rocked the hip-hop world and gripped the streets with its accusations of gang violence, murder, drug distribution, and intimidation. At the heart of the controversy is Young Thug, who the state says is far more than a rap star. Prosecutors allege he's a key player in an organized crime syndicate that uses everything from social media to music videos to flex their power and taunt rivals. Young Slime Life, better known as YSL, has been a name in Atlanta for over a decade, but not just in music. Founded in 2012 by Young Thug, Jeffrey Williams, and other associates, YSL started as a street crew on Cleveland Avenue in Southeast Atlanta. According to the state, YSL didn't stay small time for long. As Young Thug's music career took off, so did YSL's influence on the streets, with claims that it grew into a serious criminal gang affiliated with the Notorious Bloods. Fulton County prosecutors said YSL is more than just a group of friends or a music label. They call it an enterprise, a fully organized operation set on increasing its territory, influence, and resources through a pattern of crime. This is where the RICO Act, racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations, comes in. Originally designed to take down mob families, Georgia's RICO law is being wielded against Young Thug and 27 others in YSL, accusing them of being involved in a whole range of criminal activities. One of the wildest and most talked about charges against Young Thug involved the 2015 killing of Donovan Thomas Jr., a man the state says was a rival gang member. They allege Thug himself was indirectly involved by renting a car that was used in the driving drive-by shooting that left Thomas dead and 2 others injured. This murder reportedly sparked off even more violence between YSL and rival gangs, a situation that spiraled into years of tit-for-tat violence on the streets. The state claimed that by orchestrating such a high-profile attack, Thug made it clear that YSL was not to be messed with. Following this, authorities say he continued to support or incite other acts of violence aimed at defending YSL's image or getting back at anyone seen as an enemy. Prosecutors used these incidents to argue that Thug wasn't just talking in his lyrics. He was putting in real work and sending his gang to take care of business. Young Thug's charges didn't stop at violence. In addition to alleged murders and hits, he's also facing accusations of drug trafficking and illegal gun possession. Investigators claimed that YSL, under Thug's command, was making money by dealing drugs and smuggling weapons. Thug was charged with possession of methamphetamine and hydrocodone, as well as firearms he wasn't legally allowed to have. In one incident, Young Thug and fellow YSL rapper Gunna were accused of having stolen guns and distributing methamphetamine and other controlled substances. The state's theory is that YSL was able to finance its operations by selling drugs and using the cash flow to maintain weapons, pay members, and fund their street activities. Through these allegations, prosecutors are saying YSL is as much a criminal business as it is a gang, with Thug allegedly using these proceeds to maintain control. One of the most controversial aspects of this case is how the state used Young Thug's own lyrics, videos, and social media posts against him. In the indictment, authorities pointed to specific lines in his songs where he talked about slime, a term he often uses to refer to YSL, and killing snitches, saying these are references to real gang activities. In tracks like Yub You and Slime, Thug raps about wiping noses, slang for killing someone, loading 100 rounds into guns, and staying strapped. Prosecutors said Thug wasn't just rapping about his environment or sharing fictional tales of street life. They claimed his lyrics were confessions of real acts and threats aimed at scaring off rivals and letting his people know he meant business. Young Thug's defense team, however, argued that using his music against him is unjust and unfairly criminalizes rap culture. His attorneys insisted that the lyrics were simply art and shouldn't be taken literally, especially in a genre known for hyperbole and tough talk. The feds also cited his social media posts where he's shown flashing YSL gang signs, wearing colors associated with the Bloods, and posing with weapons. They say Thug was using his music career as a way to promote YSL's image on the streets, building its brand and attracting new members. Prosecutors claim Thug's influence over fans and recruits helped YSL grow its power base in Atlanta. If it wasn't enough to accuse Young Thug of direct crimes, the state says YSL used threats and intimidation to keep people quiet and obstruct justice. The prosecution claimed that members, possibly under Thug's orders, intimidated witnesses and threatened anyone who might testify against them. In one video, Thug allegedly even says people need to get killed if they talk to the cops, a statement that prosecutors are calling a clear message to potential witnesses. This alleged witness intimidation is central to the RICO case because it shows, in the state's view, that YSL operates like a gang with a code of silence. The prosecution says these actions show how serious YSL is about protecting its own, even going as far as trying to shut down court proceedings through fear tactics. To the state, Thug's influence over his crew didn't stop at music. It extended into the courtroom, where he allegedly tried to prevent people from speaking up. Part of what made this case so high profile and controversial is how it's pushing the boundaries of using art as evidence. Hip-hop artists have long been known for using violent language, with lyrics often involving guns, drugs, and street life. But this is one of the first times a state has gone so far as to argue that a rapper's art isn't just lyrics, it's evidence of criminal intent and actual conspiracy. Thug's defense team pushed back hard on this, arguing that the prosecution is stretching things too far. They say the state is trying to twist his words to fit a narrative, ignoring that rap music is often exaggerated for effect. The question remains, should music and social media be treated as literal confessions or respected as forms of expression? This aspect of the case has drawn national attention, with many in the hip-hop community seeing it as an attack on the culture. Despite all the charges, the evidence, and the heavy accusations, the RICO case against Young Thug wasn't all smooth sailing for the state. From technical problems in evidence handling to procedural slip-ups, prosecutors couldn't avoid hitting stumbling blocks that have gave the defense some breathing room and totally messed up the case for the feds. How the state fumbled. The YSL RICO case. The YSL RICO case against Young Thug started as one of the biggest attempts by Georgia prosecutors to take down a high-profile rapper, an alleged criminal network. But as the case has progressed, a string of mishandled events, procedural slip-ups, and public stumbles by the state have left many wondering if the prosecution's own unprofessionalism might just hand the win over to Young Thug and his defense. One of the biggest missteps that set the tone for the state's case was the unsteady handling of the trial's judges. The initial judge, Ural Glanville, faced multiple accusations accusations of misconduct from defense attorneys. Allegations surfaced that Glanville had held secret meetings with key witness Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland and prosecutors, which led to the defense's first motion for recusal. Defense attorney Brian Steele was even held in contempt for raising issues surrounding these meetings, only to later be vindicated when Glanville recused himself following further scrutiny. Judge Whitaker eventually took over, and she came in with a fresh approach, focusing on professionalism and stressing the need for prosecution to uphold courtroom transparency. Whitaker's tough tone signaled that even she believed the prosecution had shown a lack of due diligence. The defense seized on these courtroom failures, arguing that the series of judicial disruptions demonstrated an alignment between the original judge and the prosecutors that was unfair and damaging to Young Thug's case. The state has also repeatedly struggled with evidence handling, particularly in following the Brady Rule, which requires that prosecutors disclose any evidence that could help the defense. Whitaker's frustration was evident when she openly told prosecutors to take their duty of candor more seriously, pushing them to avoid further sloppy handling of evidence.
All right, well, I would like for you to take your duty of candor to the court with a little bit more seriousness in the future, Ms. Love.
Respectfully, I take it very seriously.
The judge even went as far as requiring prosecutors to undergo training on Brady rights to ensure they were adhering to these standards, an unprecedented move that only reinforced the defense's claim of the state's lack of preparedness. In multiple instances, prosecutors failed to share critical evidence, leading to delays in the trial. Defense attorneys accused the state of keeping important information from them, a tactic seen as unjust and amateurish, especially in a high-profile case where public trust is vital. Another blow to the state's credibility came through its star witness, Kenneth Lil Woody Copeland. With Copeland's testimony being central to the case, the prosecution needed him to testify confidently. Instead, Copeland repeatedly answered questions with, "I don't recall," a response that left the jury and Judge Whitaker unimpressed. His shaky memory and lack of substance turned what should have been a significant moment in the state's case into an embarrassing display of how unprepared he seemed under questioning.
Okay, so this what happened. Okay. The police kept locking me up for whatever they could. Every time I came out the door, the police was on me. And they keep bringing up Thug name. So what I did was, to get him off of me, I said, Thug did this, Thug did that, Thug did, because I knew they would never, I knew he didn't do it.
Defense attorneys pounced on this weak testimony, arguing it only underscored the prosecution's lack of solid evidence against Young Thug. Whitaker's demand that the witness restart his testimony after defense objections only highlighted the impression that the state's main source of information was unreliable and damaging to their own case. The prosecution faced another wave of bad press when an investigator on the case was accused of misconduct. Witness A. Bennett testified in court that she had been sexually harassed by investigator Rashid Hamilton. Bennett alleged that Hamilton had overstepped professional boundaries, sending flirtatious text messages and attempting to initiate personal conversations unrelated to the case. Not only was Bennett's accusation against a state official a significant distraction, but it also cast doubt on the professionalism and ethical integrity of the investigation itself. Defense attorneys argued that such misconduct by investigators compromised the credibility of the state's case. This accusation from a witness the prosecution had called to the stand only worsened the perception that the state had lost control of the case's presentation. Prosecutors have heavily relied on social media and lyrics to prove Young Thug's alleged ties to gang activity, but they fumbled in their approach, failing to effectively frame these as evidence without backlash. Young Thug's lyrics and social media posts were intended as proof of his gang affiliation, but many argue that the state's emphasis on his music and online persona unfairly targets his right to artistic expression. Judge Whitaker reprimanded the state, emphasizing that the defense deserved to have every piece of evidence presented properly. She made it clear that unpreparedness and mistakes could easily jeopardize the case. When rapper Slime Life Shawty, a witness for the state, mistakenly read an unredacted hashtag aloud during testimony, it prompted the defense to call for a mistrial. Judge Whitaker scolded prosecutors, questioning their preparedness and hinting at the possibility of a mistrial due to their sloppiness.
Insert error into this trial to make y'all ask for a mistrial so that they can try this case again. I think it is continued, and I am sorry, y'all have, this gigantic, ginormous universe of evidence that maybe if you narrowed down, you would not be making these kinds of mistakes. But I believe that to be a mistake.
After these repeated missteps, Judge Whitaker suggested that the prosecution take a serious look at the possibility of negotiating plea deals. She subtly pushed for discussions between prosecutors and defense teams, suggesting the state may not have the strong case it once appeared to hold. These plea deals may allow prosecutors to save face in light of the trial's chaotic progression and mounting defense arguments for dismissal. Defense attorneys argued that the prosecution's backtracking on major defendants weakened their RICO case against Young Thug. By opting for a blind plea with only probation, Young Thug seized on an opportunity to avoid prison time, a possibility that seemed unlikely at the start of the trial. What was once painted as a sweeping RICO case against a violent gang began to look more like a disorganized attempt to secure convictions on weaker grounds. From the start, this was set to be a landmark case that would either cement the state's stance against organized crime or reveal cracks in the justice system's handling of high-profile cases. But as the trial moved forward, the prosecution's lack of professionalism and procedural errors undermined their own case. From missing evidence deadlines to failed witness testimony and ethical missteps by investigators, it became increasingly clear that the state was struggling to hold its ground. The defense capitalized on these mistakes, painting a picture of prosecutors grasping for any way to secure a conviction, including bending procedural rules. Whitaker's stern remarks to the prosecution, her frustration over evidence mishandling, and her call for more plea deals only added to the impression that the state had overestimated its position. For Young Thug, this series of mistakes amounted to a stroke of luck. What began as an attempt to bring him and YSL down on severe charges has turned into a lesson on the importance of professionalism and preparation in the courtroom. The prosecution's lack of both may have handed Young Thug an escape hatch, proving that in the end, they failed to make the case stick. For more content like this, click on the videos showing on your screen now.